Hello, everyone. Welcome to KTAL News Now. I'm your host, Anthony Mocklin, and today is Tech Tuesday here on KTAL News Now, where we talk about several different things regarding technology, as well as entertainment and streaming, whether that's film, movies, games, anything, you name it. And on today's edition of Tech Tuesday, we have a lot to talk about, specifically with the recent acquisition of Warner Brothers by Netflix, or pending acquisition, I should say, because last week the Netflix made an offer to purchase Warner Brothers Discovery, and specifically the streaming and studios division of Warner Brothers, which includes Warner Brothers, of course, and their entire catalog of films. You have HBO, or Home Box Office. A lot of people might not know that that's what HBO stands for. You also have DC and the comics and the DCU film franchise that's being developed as we speak. They're just started as of the Superman movie that just came out in the summer. That was officially the kickoff to the DCU. So it is still in its infancy, you could say. And now they are pending going to Netflix, but they also includes TNT Studios. Now, this is a very, very touchy kind of subject when it comes to the film industry as a whole, because there's a lot of ramifications that could come of this. Now, the offer specifically was for $82.7 billion worth in value in stocks, and that's cash as well that is being presented to Warner Brothers and its shareholders, and they promised them that they would essentially equate to $27.75 per share for the shareholders who have a majority of the stocks in Warner Brothers. And this is the result of a very lengthy bidding war where a lot of companies, including Paramount and Comcast, which is Universal, they were in the running as well. And this lasted a few months, actually, because Paramount CEO had been in coordination and in talks with the Warner Brothers CEO, David Zaslav, for 12 weeks reportedly, and they unfortunately did not win, but they did submit a counter offer, or a hostile bid, if you will. I'll get into that in a little bit, but the Netflix deal, like I said, was worth $82.7 billion, and if this does pass, it would close between late 2026 or early 2027, so somewhere in that time period. If it does get passed, that's when it would take effect, and then Netflix would have access to their entire catalog, their streaming service, HBO, everything that I mentioned. So there's a lot to go on with this, but Netflix's CEO, Ted Sarandos, he's been making headlines recently because a lot of people think that this will essentially kill theatrical experiences, and it's a direct violation of, competition. And because if you think about it, the theaters really are the competition when it comes to Netflix. They want people to be watching and streaming at home in the comfort of their own home. And although he has gone on record and said that he has no opposition toward movies in theaters or putting them there, because as you might have seen, their original movies as of late, they have been getting theatrical runs, albeit very, very short ones. It's usually only for like a week or so, and they only do that specifically to qualify for awards races like the Golden Globes and the Academy Awards. So you have to have it in a certain amount of time before it can be considered in award season, and unfortunately, it usually is only a week in very, very select theaters. Like if you don't live in New York or Los Angeles, I mean, good luck getting to catch these movies in theaters. And their most recent movie, which is scheduled to hit the streaming service on this Friday, the newest Knives Out movie. It's the third movie in that series, and that also got a theatrical run, but not in any of AMC, Regal, or Cinemark, because neither of them wanted to have it only for a short amount of time. They wanted to have it for at least like 30 days, I believe, and Netflix was not budging on that. So you really only have seen it being shown in very small art house theaters, and they're usually sold out because of their smaller theaters. Like I said, they don't have the capacity for these large audiences to see them, and a lot of people do want to see them. That is a very beloved series and franchise that was launched by director Ryan Johnson, and I thoroughly enjoy those. Daniel Craig plays the Benoit Blanc, the detective in those movies, and he is absolutely amazing in those movies. I highly recommend checking them out if you haven't. They should all be on Netflix, and the newest one will hit the streaming service this Friday. So I'm looking forward to that one. But when it comes to Netflix's films, they have released 30 different films in cinemas this year, like I was saying. But Netflix's CEO, Ted Sarandos, said he's not opposed to putting them in theaters, obviously, but the pushback comes with these long exclusive windows. Usually these studios and movie production companies, they have a contract that is signed with their theater partners to where the movies that they put in there have to be in there for at least 45 days. That's typically the standard theatrical window or run that we see nowadays with major films. But Netflix obviously doesn't want that. They said that Netflix's CEO said that he doesn't think that they are consumer friendly at all. And he says that if they should they acquire Warner Brothers and their films, he said that window that we think of today with the 45 days, he said it will, quote, evolve to meet consumers where they are, which is, again, at home. So a lot of people, it raised a lot of alarm bells for people when it came to hearing that, because it really sounds like he's trying to either not outright kill, but definitely put a damper in the theatrical movie-going experience. And if they're not in theaters for long, that's less opportunities for people to see them. People's schedules are busy, so if you only have it in for a week and say they're really busy that week, it's going to be very tough on them to go try to catch it, especially if you have a family. There's so much you're already balancing in your life, so it's very, very difficult to go see one if you are busy that week. And it's just really sad, in my opinion, if this does come to pass. But of course, he got a lot of backlash from that, from people in Hollywood and the movie industry, and they were very fearful that he would pretty much torpedo the theatrical experience and that entire industry of Hollywood. But he quickly retracted those statements, and not necessarily retracted it, but he said that he would still honor the theatrical windows that are already in place and that precedent that was set. So I think he's just trying to save face a little bit. Do I believe the guy? Absolutely not. But, what can you do except for, we can't do anything. Obviously, we don't have billions of dollars to go throw it at Warner Brothers to stop this from happening. But yesterday was very, very interesting because Paramount, like I said, they implemented a counteroffer of $108.4 billion. And this is considered a hostile bid because Warner Brothers and Netflix already have an agreement in place. But Paramount CEO went directly to the Warner Brothers shareholders to try to prop up his offer and appeal to them specifically, so that, having all this money and this larger perceived value, it might sway the shareholders to vote to side with Paramount here. But that remains to be seen. Again, that just happened yesterday, so that is very, very fresh in this process. And this whole process in general is still very young. It's still adapting and evolving. And, his offer, like I said, was $108.4 billion. And like we said earlier, where the shareholders would be offered $27 and some odd change per share, this one, according to the Paramount CEO, it would equate to $30 per share for the shareholders in their offer. And this whole package is financed by the Ellison family, and the CEO specifically, David Ellison. He's the one who owns Paramount Skydance, which is officially what they're called, Paramount Skydance. And he owns and oversees their properties and streaming and theatrical rights and everything of that nature. But it's also financed by a private equity firm, Redbird Capital. You have Bank of America getting in on it. And you also have, like I said, CEO David Ellison. He's offering, according to him, he's offering shareholders $17.6 billion more in cash than the Netflix offer. But again, that remains to be seen. And he said that he texted David Zaslav, the Warner Brothers CEO. He said that isn't even his final and best offer. So that $30 per share and the package in general could go even higher if that's not even their best offer. So I think, obviously he's really, really gunning for this to try to win it over from Netflix. And if Warner Brothers does decide to pull out and side with Paramount, they would owe a $2.8 billion breakup fee. So I'm wondering if that is factored into Paramount's offer, because they have to obviously compensate for that and correct that, and so that Warner Brothers does not have to go out of pocket to pay that. I'm assuming Paramount knows this. That's why they're saying that's not their best and final offer. Hopefully their next offer will be able to offset something like that, so that, again, Warner Brothers would be enticed to side with them instead. But one thing that is very questionable, in my opinion, when it comes to Paramount's offer is that it is also backed by several Middle Eastern financial partners. And this has become a problem as of late, specifically with the Middle East and what's known as sports washing, where if you see in LIV Golf and most recently the WWE, where you have these Middle Eastern financiers that are trying to promote the sport and bring it to them and host events there. And there's already been talks about potentially having the NFL there, and it could just be a whole different mess. But sports washing, for those of you who don't know, it's where you use something or a form of entertainment. Specifically in this case, you have sports where you use it to try to improve your public image and rally the community, because sports brings a lot of people together. And if you have this giant event that all people from all over the place can enjoy and cheer for and something to root for, it's obviously going to distract them from some things you might be doing that obviously aren't ethical or anything in that regard. So this could be a problem later on. And just the sale of Warner Brothers in general, I'm not advocating for Paramount or Netflix to go through with any of these deals, because at the end of the day, it is not only does it violate antitrust laws with monopolies, they're obviously Netflix and Warner Brothers, they obviously have conflicting interests when it comes to their revenue models, because Netflix, again, they make all their money streaming from people at home and paying for their subscription service. But if you go look at Warner Brothers, they have an extensive catalog of some classic movies that are preserved by the National Film Institute. Like, they have so many absolute classic movies. And this raises the question, too, when it comes to physical media, because Netflix has only ever released physical media of their most popular shows like Stranger Things, but we still haven't even gotten Stranger Things season 3 or 4 in any physical media form. And who's to say that's going to stop them now? Because as long as they continue to release these original movies, there's little hope for us to have any form of physical media. And it goes back to the quote that people always hear, like, you will own nothing. And that is essentially what Netflix is trying to do, where you're paying for a service and you're paying all this money to them, but you're not actually owning the things you're buying. You're purchasing access to watch their films and their shows, and you're not actually owning anything. Because if you cancel the subscription, that's it. You don't get any access to them at all. And if you were to cancel them after being a subscriber for years and years and years, you have absolutely nothing to show for it, because you lose all access to everything you ever watched on that platform. You have no way of rewatching it or taking it with you on a road trip. If you have like a DVD player, there's no way for you to do that. So it's a very, very dark time for the film industry as a whole. And Paramount might not be much better with, like I said, all of the financial backers, and the fact that, again, this would form a huge mega monopoly when it came to the streaming giants that are currently in place. And especially with Netflix, because Netflix and Warner Brothers combining, they would easily control at least half of the streaming market and entertainment industry as we know it when it comes to film and television. And do we really want one large company pretty much controlling what every single person sees or on TV or anything like that in America? I don't think so. I don't think anybody would be on board with that. I'm certainly not. but I don't know how y'all feel. It's just not a good thing for the industry when you essentially eliminate your competition, because more competition, it shows you that you need to be on your A game, do your best to create the art that film and television should be, instead of reducing it to content, or Netflix's CEO calling us consumers instead of actual people or fans of film and television. So it's just a very, very tough situation as a whole for the film industry. You can obviously see I'm very upset about it as somebody who loves going to the theater and experiencing that. There's truly nothing like going to a movie theater and sitting down for 2 hours, just forgetting about everything for a little bit and just being in the moment and just watching what is in front of you and processing that and having your own opinions on it. Because at the end of the day, like I said, films and television are art, and they should be treated as such instead of just some content mill that you're just trying to pump out. And Netflix as a whole, their production process has been very, very embarrassing, to say the least, because you have people and shareholders and executives pretty much admitting that they're trying to create content for people who aren't fully engaged with it, like they're doing something else while they're watching it. That's why, I don't know if you've noticed, as of least recently, their shows and movies, you have these characters that are stating who they are, their names, exactly what they're doing, their background. They're spelling it out for people because they know that people treat it as a second screen or something that is on in the background that they don't have to give their full undivided attention to. And that's just really sad, because not only does that happen, you also have the way it's shot. A lot of people like to call it the Netflix look, where there's too much lighting, there's no color, everything is grayed out. And that's just a problem with an industry-wide thing when it comes to lighting and cinematography right now, aside from a select few, of course. But it's just a huge, huge problem if this goes through for either side, because, again, competition, it breeds creativity, innovation, trying to do something different than the competitor. And that, in turn, rewards the audience, us, and gives us the best product possible, hopefully. Usually that would be the case, but that remains to be seen here with the Netflix deal. Again, this is very disheartening. If I had to pick, gun to my head, I guess I would go with Paramount, because they are champions of the film industry. They want to continue the theatrical experience, whereas Netflix, they might say they will honor the theatrical windows, but, I would take that with a grain of salt, because at the end of the day, like I said, there's no reason for them to not try to make the theatrical experience die down, because, again, that is their direct competitor. Unless they start showing their films in theaters, which, again, is clearly not a priority for them or something that they want to do. They want to make it on the service as soon as possible for their subscribers, because, again, that's where they make most of their money every single month, and I don't see them doing that personally. But let me know your thoughts on the potential acquisition. You can email me at amocklin@ktalnews.com. We can talk more about this. I have a lot to say, obviously, and I'm very, very passionate when it comes to film and trying to prop up that industry. I would hate to see that go away in any form, especially with, lower attendance each year with films. That's a whole different topic, with going to the movies being more and more expensive, and the price of everything is really going up, if we're being honest, of every single thing. And that's a shame to see. But hopefully, as we try to navigate through these tough times financially and in the economy and everything, it will go well for most people. And, my thoughts and prayers are obviously with people who are struggling and you can barely afford to feed their families. It's just a very, very tough time, but, we'll get through it, I promise. I'm here if you need anything. You can reach me at amocklin@ktalnews.com, like I said. But moving on to our next topic on Tech Tuesday, specifically with generative AI, which, again, is another threat to the film industry and art as a whole, because you see more and more people using it in place of hiring an actual local artist to either draw something up or graphic designer. It's just another thing that is costing people jobs, and it's very, very unfortunate to see companies, and specifically local businesses using it in their campaigns. And one of them that I'm talking about here is the Shreveport Regional Arts Council, where they were facing so much heavy criticism and backlash for using generative AI in event flyers. And I don't know about you, but that's very ironic to have that happen to the Shreveport Regional Arts Council. Like, the fact that they had to resort to that is just very sad, in my opinion. But KTAL's Grace Jensen has more on their response to the backlash.
The Shreveport Regional Arts Council is facing backlash after event flyers posted to their social media featured AI-generated art.
I would like our artists to know that we apologize because our intent was different than the outcome.
Executive Director Rebecca Bonnevier says the flyers were created by a graphic designer, but were swiftly removed following negative feedback from local artists.
It hurt artists. I think that it's an opportunity for us to really take a look at how AI impacts our arts community.
Bonnevier says they hope to learn from this mistake and use it as an opportunity to see how AI impacts our local arts community.
We need to understand the impact, and we need to be able to provide better outcome, better knowledge. We need to learn, and we need to learn how we can better serve our community. And I think that we are going to do that. I can assure you that we're going to do that.
She says SHRAC is here to serve their artists and plans on hosting a series of forum discussions to hear feedback in person from artists who wish to share their thoughts on the matter.
I think it's really important that they know that we want to have a professional facilitator that's not biased. We want it to be in a location that everyone feels welcome to come to. We want to make sure we get it on the right day, the right time, so that people, as many people as possible can contribute.
Reporting in Shreveport, I'm Grace Jensen.
And you can find more information about that story on our website at ktalnews.com, which is where we stream this show every day, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. And you can also find all of your local breaking and trending news stories on there as well. Again, that is ktalnews.com. But speaking of AI and specifically regulating it, which is something that definitely needs to happen, it has pretty much gotten out of control with the amount of AI-generated content that is being spread out on the internet. And that not only causes misinformation, but it also floods the internet with all this fake stuff where, if you've heard of the dead internet theory, where most of the accounts that you engage with on social media and the users on the internet, it's a theory where most of them are actually robots or AI, and they're not actually real people, and they're just used there to farm engagement or anything of that sort. So we definitely need regulation, and the Caddo Parish Commission is taking steps in the right direction towards that, because they cast a controversial vote a few days ago regarding a proposed AI data center and how to regulate them. And KTAL's Alexandra Meacham has all the details from that meeting.
Residents heard Caddo Parish is considering construction of a data center, which brought out strong opposition.
Any founding father, they are rolling in their graves as they see backroom deals with undisclosed technology companies.
This is going to affect all of us for the rest of our lives.
The commission pushed back, saying Thursday's vote was not to build an actual data center. They were presented a resolution that shows their support for a pilot program for the Northwest Louisiana Finance Committee that attorneys say set the terms of regulation for any data centers built outside city limits. The pilot program would spend $8 billion in construction cost, yielding thousands of temporary jobs and hundreds of permanent jobs.
If they don't get the permanent jobs, it's in black and white, then they pay millions of dollars. The other thing here is the state of Louisiana exempts all sales and use taxes on data center equipment. This says if you come to Caddo Parish, you're going to pay a sales tax. It's not going to be the same amount, it's going to be 1%, but 1% on a $10 billion project is a lot of money.
Busada went on to say that every city is competing for these data centers, and the Bossier Parish Police Jury passed a similar resolution on Wednesday.
There are over 500 data centers already here in the United States. So data centers are not simply coming, they're already here.
Both residents and commissioners voiced concerns of water use and pollution near these centers, while it was pointed out that water use could fund infrastructure improvements.
There will be significant water purchase from the Department of Water and Sewer from the city of Shreveport, which will help to fund our infrastructure in the city of Shreveport and help the city of Shreveport to be able to afford the upgrades in the water system that it needs.
The commission passed the supporting resolution in a 10-2 vote.
Of course, there are some concerns. Those questions need to be answered.
And Attorney Busada said that before any data center is built, special use permits must be approved, and the Shreveport City Council is also taking up this issue. For more information about this story, you can find it on our website at ktalnews.com. Now, the time is running thin for you to nominate a remarkable woman in your life, and this can be anyone from a community leader to someone who's very, very involved in nonprofits or several other organizations. It could be anyone in your life who you think is making a difference in the community. It is our annual contest honoring local heroes. And like I said, these nominees can be local advocates, community leaders, or just everyday heroes in your life. And they are recognized for their service and commitment to the people in the communities that they serve. And nominations are open from now until December 19th. So you have a little over a week to get your nominations in. And should your nominee be chosen, we will highlight each of them for by sharing their stories online and on air. And we will also be honoring each of them during Women's History Month in March and highlighting their stories and their causes, which can also be donated to if they are chosen as the winner, because the winner of the Remarkable Women Contest will receive a $1,000 donation to a charity of their choice, and they will also get an all-around paid trip to Nashville for the National Remarkable Women Contest in Tennessee. And that everything is paid for: travel, airfare, hotel stays. So this is a great opportunity to nominate somebody remarkable in your life who you think could end up making a difference or winning this contest, because we need some more nominations. Again, we are approaching the deadline. It is December 19th. It is really, time is of the essence here to get your nominations in. It is such a great opportunity to help raise money for a charity of your choice and help those in need in the community. All you have to do is scan that QR code right there, right next to me, or just visit our website at ktalnews.com to learn more and how you can nominate a remarkable woman in your life. But that's all I have today for Tech Tuesday. Be sure to tune in every day, Monday through Friday, on KTAL News Now, which is where we stream on ktalnews.com. And you can find all of our previous editions of KTAL News Now on our YouTube page at KTAL News. But for now, I'm Anthony Mocklin. Have a great rest of your day, and thank you for joining us.